Avatar: The Last Airbender live action remake just dropped up Netflix. I'm going to be taking a break from reviewing the original series, which I was hoping to have finished before this show came out, but this show kind of snuck up on me, so I wasn't able to do that. And talk about this show. And I'm going to be reviewing each episode week to week, not as they release because this show dropped all at once, but I'm doing that because I really don't fucking like live action remakes of shows that are animated, or live action remakes of anything that's animated, to be honest. And so I can only stomach watching so much of this, to be honest. And B, these episodes are really long, and trying to like binge all those episodes week to week is a lot easier than trying to binge them all at once. Unless it's fucking Stranger Things, because I don't know. Stranger Things is one of those easy shows to do that with. I don't know why. But, yeah, fuck. Let's get into this shit. So, let's start about what I said before. I was not excited about the show. I think basically remaking anything that's animated in live action is just pointless because it's already the best medium for that thing. There's a reason it was made that way. There's a couple times where it can work, and I've kind of enjoyed it, like the Flintstones movie. But even then, I would consider that more of like a guilty pleasure than a fucking good movie. And that's, so like, I wasn't excited for the show. Also, Avatar: The Last Airbender is such a perfect show that as soon as this was announced, I was like, okay, they're just gonna remake the show shot for shot, but in live action. And that's all the trailers really gave me. And then the creators leaving this project didn't really give me much hope. So I kind of had a lot of like negative just shit going into this. Sitting down to watch it though, it was not as bad as I thought it was going to be, but it's still not great. And I don't really like it too much. Let's start with the positives. It's clear a lot of money went into this. Like the special effects are actually pretty good. Appa looks pretty phenomenal. Especially compared to M. Night Shyamalan's version. The costume designs is great. The bending does not look very great for the most part. There's a couple times where it looks really good in this episode, but for the most part, the bending looks like you can tell there's money put into the bending, but the problem is it just looks cheesy and kind of bad compared to the animation. Like it's never gonna look as good as that animation, and that's the problem with this. It just does not work. And then you have so that all that stuff is good. And then it's like it did take away one of my fears actually watching this first episode. This show is not just a remake of the original series, but that leads into another problem we'll get into in a second. But yeah, and then the music for the most part. A lot of the music in the episode felt very much like music from the original series from the moment one, and that was pretty cool. And I like some of the casting, especially the guy that got to play Monkey Atsu. But yeah, we'll get in now. Let's get into the negatives. So again, everything that's good about this episode doesn't really fucking matter because the animation did it better. And that's just the problem with this show. No matter what it does, no matter how well it does it, it will never be as good as that animation. And that's my problem when I'm watching this show. I'm just sitting there going, why am I not watching the better version of this? That has more humor, more subtlety, more life, more energy into all of it. The bending, like I said, looks so much better in the animation. Here, I'm just sitting here going, what are we even fucking doing? And it's just like, all right, there's that. And just there's so many scenes. I literally could break them down beat by beat, but I'm not going to. There's so many scenes in this episode where they're saying dialogue that's similar to what they say in the original series, but without any of the subtlety. Like they're just going, he's the Avatar, and he must train, and or whatever, or hey, you are my friend. Just lines of dialogue that's like, I didn't need them to say shit like that. There's subtlety in the animation, through the expressions and the detail. Why is it the animation, for the kids show, is more mature than the fucking show that's supposedly made for adults? I just don't fucking get that. And yeah, the writing wasn't great in some of with the dialogue here, because it felt like they were either trying to say a line from the original series, but say it differently so it's not the same. It basically felt like that scene in The Amazing Spider-Man where Uncle Ben comes in and he starts saying something similar to, with great power comes great responsibility, right? He's trying to say something similar to that shit, and so he just ends up saying something worse that's just really laughably bad, and that's kind of the way I felt about the dialogue in this episode. And there's that, and just, again, everything's so goofy compared to the animation, because you're just sitting here like, it just doesn't look right in live action. There's a reason this fucking story was animated, but hey, I'll tell you what my biggest problem with this episode is, though. Like I said, the animation was perfect, so when they do change things from the show, it doesn't really fucking look very good. Because they're changing stuff that's already perfect. And so, like, on one hand, I'm kind of glad I'm getting a different experience because I've already seen this story in one medium, and doing it in another the same way would be kind of boring, but at the same time, it's also kind of like, God, I already saw the best version of this. But, like, this part in this movie, or in the show, with the with the beginning of this episode, spoilers. Let's get into it. Let me just explain why these things are so. To be honest, like, most of this episode was just a straight remake of the first episode, and that was fine. They did most of that pretty decently. Again, it's not as good as the animation, but the beginning half of this episode, they fucking, like, butchered some major points of the story that just fucking are just, what the fuck. So, first of all, this episode starts with some Earthbenders trying to get the Fire Nation's plan of war to the Earth Kingdom. They managed to do it. The Fire Lord fucking murders this dude, and it felt so goofy watching this. I feel like in the animation, like, if they showed that in the show, which they wouldn't have done because it's a kid show, but it's so fucking gruesome that maybe in the animation would look so great and better, but here it just came across really goofy. Anyways, the Fire Lord's like, hey, this is my plan, this is what I'm doing. This is so useless, because the intro of the show recaps, hey, there's a war, there's this Avatar dude, he's the one to stop it, he's got a lot to learn, but he's gonna figure it out. Like, why do you need this fucking long-ass scene to, like, well, it wasn't super long, but it's like a worthless scene that's got pretty cheesy bad acting. I don't know if I want to say bad acting, but pretty cheesy acting that's just kind of lame and doesn't really have a point to it. Like, I'm sitting here like, what are we doing? Like, we're supposed to be, like, showing animation? Or not animation, but you're just showing me, like, something I already fucking understand. Then you get into the next part of this episode, which is seeing Aang with his family and, like, his tribe and everything, and stuff. But, like, this is something that you see in the second episode as a flashback. Or no, you don't even see it as a flashback. You discover all this shit in the episode The Storm, which is, like, one of the top tier best episodes of the fucking entire series. So they kind of already butchered one of the best episodes of the series. Then the other problem with this episode is you see all that crap, right? But also, it just ruins the best part about that episode. The reason why that second episode of the show was so good after the first episode is when they go to this air temple, and Aang still thinks that his family might be alive, and you actually see the fucking dead body and the bodies of Fire Nation soldiers, it has a higher impact than just seeing like this battle scene that you could probably see in hundreds of other fucking shows or movies, except I guess they're like bending fire or water or air, I guess. But it just ruins the best part. And also, it was also to highlight the fact that Aang and Katara are Aang's new family, and they're going to have to go on this journey together. It sets a great foundation for the show, and you watch this, and now that's just fucking gone. And that's the problem with these fucking live action remakes. It's you taking things that were already perfect and trying to fix them, and fix them in ways that are non-conclusive to what the fucking point of the thing was. It's just dumb. I didn't like this episode. It wasn't like horrible. I could see people liking this show, but at the same time, I got my superior version, so I'm just watching this inferior version going, why do I care? Why does this exist? Oh, money, I guess. But fuck that.